I'm live. Alright, in that case, I guess we can go ahead and get started. Munchakoopas, this is Iconoclasts. Well, I'll explain as we go. If you're ready, Shadex, in 3, 2, 1, go. Right, to start off, I'm going to skip a couple cutscenes. Move that cursor off the screen, sorry about that. Anyway. Did not get it, but I'll explain as I go. So, I do have a gun in this game. It's a stun gun. When you kill an enemy in this game when you're in the air, it resets your ability to jump. Why? I don't know. It's pretty neat. I'm going to use that Improvium that I just picked up for crafting later. Go over here, break this block. When you ground pound onto slopes like this and then jump, you can maintain the momentum you gain from them. There's the first boss, though he pretty much is just a wall for you to shoot at. So I just stand behind him and shoot my stun gun, and then I just have to make sure I hit him with one charge shot like that, which skips a phase and goes directly to this one, and then hit him with another charge shot, and then walk backwards to the right side of the screen. This game is most people call it a Metroidvania. I call it like something more similar to Cave Story, where it's more like a story-based, like action-adventure type platformer. It's not necessarily about getting new abilities, you just happen to get new abilities. But anyway. So it's heavily story-based. The gist of it is that you play as Robin, the helpful mechanic, in a world where being a mechanic is illegal. And you arrive home to find a mysterious black van and then two agents of the ruling religion / government. And they're accusing you of being a mechanic, but they don't have any proof, so they leave. Then you go pick up your giant wrench, which you use to work on machines. And because of all the earthquakes recently, you decide to go check on your brother in the next town over. Anyway, moving right along. This little guy spawns randomly. You may see that green flash on that enemy. That means I can reflect it with my wrench. Ouch. So, by firing my gun in reverse like that, it allows me to conserve momentum. If I where I go neutral on inputs and then hold the other direction. If that makes sense. And the fastest I can move in this category is off of these slopes by doing a ground pound. So a lot of this category and most of my speedrunning this game and platforming sections comes down to conserving your momentum properly. Like right here, I try and time that gunshot so I can maintain a boost all the way through here. Oops. Pushed away from the ledge. You can kill jump that guy to get up here, or you can jump and use your charge gunshot. Either method works. Anyway. The whole point of going through all of these rooms is that I have to get over to the next village. Or settlement, as they're called. There's a skip for a puzzle in this room. I'll see if I can pull it off. First try. Nice. It's actually a lot harder than it seems. But that skips a puzzle in this room with you like rearranging some of these switches, these pillars in the room. I forget what they're called. I think those actually, all the purple things are just called doors. I don't know if they have another proper term. This is your sister-in-law. She doesn't like you. Probably because you're a mechanic in a world where it's illegal to do so, but whatever. I need this key to unlock this chest, which has a very important ivory oil. I'm going to use that for crafting. There's not very many of those in the game. So if you're among the few that have played this game before, you may have noticed that I'm climbing up ladders really quickly. And I'm also like zooming through most text. In this game, when you hold the attack or the jump and the wrench button, at the same time when starting text. It makes the text scroll by super quick. And for climbing up ladders, if you hold down the wrench button, you go up the ladder even faster than normal. Get some extra momentum there. Now I just have to go back to my brother's house to help him with something. But oh no, the one concern, the ruling religion shows up, and then you know, they arrest you and take you away. Why they didn't just kill you right there, I don't know. So the one concern has these people called agents, and they're not just secret agents like James Bond. They have magic powers like the X-Men. More on them later, but the point is, a couple of those agents are here, and instead of just killing you, which they have every right to do, according to their religion anyway, they decide not to, and they arrest you for whatever, for strange reason. As you might imagine, this is a stealth section. So, I actually missed one of the movements during the second one, and I thought I could make up for it during the third. Turns out you can't. So 6 creaks of the stairs each time. Huh. What's interesting is that spot shouldn't be creaking. Anyway, missed a gun boost, that's okay. Now we're getting into the real meat of the game, all the bugs. This section, if you go left against that section, there's a bunch of soldiers, so the game pushes you the other way. It was discovered that if you hold certain buttons down, and then walk into that section, and then release those buttons and push your wrench button, you undo or somehow disable Robin's ability to do every input but jumping and moving. And for whatever reason, you arrive at that cutscene for the second boss, and it causes Robin to moonwalk out of the cutscene. Skipping the boss and the end of that section, which is what I did there. Sorry I couldn't explain that beforehand, it's very difficult to do so while performing it. Anyway. Slope boost to conserve momentum. Alright, you may see me jump into little crawl spaces like that. The reason being is that I'm trying to get this bug where if you jump into a crawl space, it for some reason lets you run or like crawl really quickly through that space. You may also see me fire my charged shot up to propel myself downward really quickly, or I'll use a ground pound to move down really quickly, and then I'll use wrench. The wrench actually cancels the extra momentum you get from firing your gun down, or upward, excuse me, or from a ground pound. So the whole goal in this area, at this point in the story, Robin is separated from her family, has no idea what's going on, and she meets Mina, the pirate lady, in green that we met earlier. And you decide to look for a way to Mina's home. But you get separated and then you wash up here. Even though it says that Mina's in my party in the top right corner, she's not actually in my party right now. And the only place I can go is up this way in this area. And all this is to get a new gun type. Time to bonk Kirk. See you later, Kirk. So now we're going to play a mini game. By we, I mean me. But this is a group activity, so chat, I want to know what's your favorite element. This is an element sorting mini game. My favorite element is the element of circle. If the circle and the triangle meet, that is a sad face. Sometimes the fast text thing does not work out very well. Alright, so now I have the roller bomb shot. Very helpful and explosive weapon. And I can explain a bit more about how charged shots work in this game. So as you may notice from my regular stun gun, the charged shot is this big yellow, like, fan-shaped projectile. The roller bomb actually fires a missile, which moves out a short distance, and then becomes active, and will deal damage. The missile also has a longer cooldown than the stun gun charged shot. So for most of the platforming, it's actually faster to use the stun gun for the majority of the game. We get a hard slope boost right there. You get slope boost in very strange places like that, where you might not expect you'd be able to. Mostly just because there's a very shallow ceiling there, but sometimes you can find a way. Oops. Right now we meet the next member of the cast, Royal. So Royal, if you couldn't tell already, has the magical power of triangles, and that allows him to control the very matter of the planet itself. More on Royal later in the story. His boss is called Kibuka. So every time he comes out of the ground, he'll be facing the original direction that he started in, so that was left in this case. So after each one of these missile sections, I want to be on this side, and where Royal picks to attack the ground is random, so that crosshair that appears is produced by Royal. And sometimes if Kibuka gets too close, Royal will get scared and run to the other side and waste time. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is you charge up your missile, you stand over here, and you hope that Royal's rock actually does damage, because sometimes it just doesn't. Ideally, you get a 2-phase. But I did not, so there. Luckily, you can skip nearly every cutscene in this game. Oops. Too far to the right. So after all that, Royal agrees to join our party because he says that he wants to take us back to the One Concern camp to congratulate us on a job well done as exemplary mechanic. Royal is unfortunately a little out of touch with the world and doesn't realize that you are not a member of the One Concern, nor does he realize that you are a wanted criminal by the One Concern, having escaped prison. So in the story, you meet a giant meeting of the One Concern, and they're talking about the wanted criminals that they know are still out there. And they talk about one, and then Royal shows up and says, "Hey everybody, this mechanic's really cool." And they're like, "Shut up, Royal, no one likes you." And so then, they change, Royal throws Robin up on screen, and then they change the screen to be like, "This mechanic is wanted," and it's Robin on the screen. So they arrest you, and then Royal says, "No, I'll get rid of her," because they finally decide to kill you. Instead, Royal frees you, and then you have to fight this helicopter with arms. Also, Tolo's here, and he throws bombs at you. And now we're caught up, and I'm fighting a helicopter with arms. I suppose this is a good time to mention that the main fuel source of everything is ivory. So like this train, the helicopter, all the machines. Yeah, it's basically like oil. This is actually faster than... That was a really fast helicopter fight. Anyway, yeah, it's faster to take damage and hit it with your wrench. Now for a bit of backstory. So Robin wants to be a mechanic because her dad was a mechanic. Now she's having a dream where she talks to her dad. Her dad worked for the One Concern and was eventually killed by the One Concern because he wanted to defect. As for the One Concern, they are very particular with how machines have to be handled. And yeah, so now we're in Mina's hometown, the home of the Issi people. This is the Isolugr Depths. I think technically this is the village. Anyway, so the Isolugr are just another, ethnicity of people, essentially. That have different religious beliefs, and the One Concern hate them. And call them pirates, and try to get them painted, in a very negative eye for the general public. So this whole place is actually an underwater, mobile coral reef. And somehow the One Concern find it. And then Samba, Mina's friend, decides to save you. And now Robin and Mina set out to set off the island's security systems and hopefully drive the One Concern away. Brief history of this speedrun category, 80% no Airswim. It all started in this very area, in this room. There's some cool out-of-bounds stuff you can do that allows you to skip a great portion of many areas of this game. And this category spawned off of the idea of just basically not using the Airswim in case you don't like some of the Airswim tricks, which some are honestly kind of ridiculous to set up, or if you just would rather play a bit more of the game in a more somewhat traditional sense. That said, I like 80%, and I encourage anyone who really likes heavily glitched runs to go look at it because it's really cool to see. But this whole area is how that all started. It's kind of like the origins of this category. So as I said earlier when I mentioned this game is more of a story-based platformer than a Metroidvania, this is kind of what I mean, in that I generally don't really do backtracking to any of these areas for any real reason. Even in a casual setting, you generally don't really go or have to go back to an area for any required purpose. And like all of your access to areas depends not necessarily on abilities, but where in the story you are. Speaking of the story, I meet these two nice gentlemen and they tell me that I need to go around the laboratory and meet up with some scientists to get 3 different keys. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm off to get, I believe, the first of those 3. If you're hoping for a cool trick shot like something like this, and then I make well yeah, that's not gonna happen. Forgot to fire another one. Classic me. Anyhow. So I just picked up one of the 3 Trini keys. I need those to access the boss of this area. Those are separate from the keys that are next to my health bar. Just FYI. Very early on in the run, I talked to a guy who allowed me to, well, he gave me the ability to craft tweaks. So you might see underneath my health bar those 3 notches, which are for my tweaks, which are basically like passive abilities, but some do give you other skills. And I'm about to get a very important one right here. So we're finally going to get to craft something. So here's a glitch. If you hold down your gun button and then go into the Equip Tweaks menu and press triangle, you can actually craft tweaks from a stave statue, which you're not supposed to be able to do. You can only do that when you're holding down the gun button. Originally, you didn't have to hold down the gun button, but Konjac, the developer of this game, puts he mostly like makes that the trigger for most of these glitches, just so that they're less likely to happen in a casual play. But he's been extremely supportive of the speedrun community, so there's a lot of things like that that speedrunners are still able to do, but they just aren't as likely to happen for someone who's playing the game for the first time, which is really neat. So I got another Trini key, and the ability I unlocked, which is now on the far left of all my notches, is the roll dodge. This is the bread and butter of this category, and opens up a lot of cool new stuff for me. So, not only am I invincible when I first dodge, but I can perform a dodge roll jump by pushing all of those inputs on basically the same frame. And that allows me to do a lot of interesting things, mostly because it allows me to jump with a crouching hitbox. More on that in a bit. So you may see that when I kill enemies, like all these little dots come out of them and fly toward me, and then you'll notice that might correspond with the 3 notches in the top left. So every time I take damage from enemies, I'm going to lose experience, for lack of a better term, and then I will lose whatever tweak is on that slot. Right now, all I have is dodge roll, and it's on the far left one, so it would be the last one, if any, for me to lose. So I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. But it is a problem later on in the run when I only craft 1 more tweak, but it's still very imperative at certain points that I do have these abilities. Getting another secret ivory oil. This will allow me to craft another tweak very soon. Now for a little mini boss where we have to fight these controllers of the one concern. Dang. So if you can kill them quickly enough, they won't take over one of these robots. But they can be very tricky to fight. Slope boost to get across this room really fast. Craft another tweak. So the tweak that I crafted this time is called Fleetfoot, which just increases my basic run speed. It's not a super huge difference, but it's enough over the course of the speedrun to be worth it. I just barely missed that one wherever it went. So unfortunately, whatever robot they pick is entirely up to them. I have no say. So here's where dodge roll is, of course, especially important because it allows me to bypass most of these electric fields. And hopefully this room allows me to do this upcoming missile shot. Depending on like your refresh rate or something dumb, like you can fire this missile pixel perfectly to where it will open this for you. But it's very difficult to space yourself. There we go. You have to be like all the way against the wall. And the way I did it is slower than just using the bombs in the first place, but whatever. Sometimes you can get it without like firing yourself into the wall the first time. Anyway. This is what I needed the Trinity keys for. This is Inti, the island's security system. In this battle, this is obvious. I tag between Rob and Nina to do various things. You might be wondering, why is the island security system fighting the good guys? Well, it is under the control of one of the One Concern's controllers, in the center of its head. So this game has an incredible amount of boss fights. There's another save statue. I just fought a boss, and now I'm fighting another boss. This is Ancient White, and he can shoot different elements out of his eyes depending on what type of sunglasses he wears. That's pretty neat. White will pursue me for a little while. And if I'm lucky, I'm gonna get the ability to skip his fight coming up here. But we'll see. Depending on like where Mina is when you enter this cutscene. Like you may or may not skip the fight entirely. Nope. Alright, so the thing Mina was doing after we damaged Agent White was Mina was firing or punching rather seeds. I guess inside of Agent White's ribcage or something? I don't really know. The point is that the seeds that Mina's people grow plants with round leaves instead of square ones. All the plants on this planet are fake, except for the ones grown here. For whatever reason, the seeds that the Issy people grow, they interact with machines in interesting ways, and by interesting ways I mean they make them explode. And really it's just that the seeds interact with ivory in a unique way. And so when the seeds come into contact with the agents who have ivory blood, it causes them to turn into trees. Well, explode violently and then turn into trees, but you get the idea. Also, you should fear the box. The box is the most powerful weapon in the game. If there were a box gun, I'd use it. But there's not. And yes, air swimming, as chat said, is also just a way to skip very large sections of this game. And this category is basically what the game is without doing that. But any percent is still a very cool run, and if you like glitched runs, or like more glitch heavy runs, I highly recommend watching it. It's really cool. World record I think right now is a sub 32 by Risky CB for Airswim. During this section, after activating Inti after fighting Agent White, the entire base has been moved, and these are the remnants of the one concern that are stuck inside. All the regular citizens are inside their panic rooms, so Robin is tasked with disposing of the remainder of the one concern. And then they upgrade her wrench. Dodge roll into that cutscene, which can give me some slight speed going into it. Slope boost into this section. So at this point, the one concern has left. The area was unlocked, and Agent Black kidnapped Mina's friend Samba and ran away. I missed a gun boost again. So we go in pursuit of our friend. Find Mina talking to her mother, who is upset that Mina is leaving again. Mina's whole subplot is that she's never home, for various complicated reasons. If you're interested in the story of this game, I highly recommend playing it. Anyway, the electric wrench, as seen there, well, it electrifies Robin. And when used on these fancy rails, it makes her zoom super fast. Here I'm performing a bug called Quantum Leap, where if you hold your fire button, and then dodge roll jump into an area transition, not any screen transition, but an area transition between two different sections. It actually allows you to skip certain rooms. We don't know exactly how it works, it just makes sense. It sends you like a certain distance inside the room, or the next area. In this instance, it helps me skip using a key, so now I can use this key elsewhere in the game for more sequence breaks. I'm going to make a quick safety save here, just in case this next trick fails and I cause catastrophic error. I'm actually going to quantum leap back into the desert, which puts me in a secret area with access to the teleporter. This is the game's fast travel system. So the next area of the game that I'm supposed to access is the Feral Shockwood, which I'm going to now, but I'm getting there much sooner than anticipated, and I'm skipping about 90% of the area. And there's actually a cutscene in this next room. So what I'm going to do is jump. No, I'm going to soft lock the game because it didn't fire up. So I have to relaunch the game. One moment. But anyway, you get to this section, and you fire upward when you initiate the cutscene. And then you skip the cutscene. If you don't do it as you've seen, you cause horrible things to happen. Again. Got it. Okay. So now I won't soft lock by entering this room. Need to open this because I have to come back here later. Okay, ideally, this cutscene works properly. Okay, good. Because of the like cutscene skip thing I did earlier, if you enter this boss too early, it'll actually like spin the wrong way and soft lock, so that's cool. This boss is called Carver. He's pretty random. He is the giant train thing. Doesn't really have a gender as far as I'm aware. Second phase, I just have to wait for the opportunity to strike its weak point and then do that. Also, Elro is here now, and he has a broken sword. Gotta shoot the sword down so Elro can reach it. destroy the projectiles because reasons. And now Mina's back. And the whole point of all of this is that you think Agent Black took Samba to the tower, which is at the other end of the Shockwood. And now we're going to enter the tower. But you get there, and you can't get in because it's surrounded by an electric fence. But Royal, who's been following you, says, I can get you there. And then he takes you in the underground entrance, and they arrest you. And so now you have to escape. And find your friends. But this is the part of the Metroid game where they take away all your abilities. So I don't have my wrench right now, I don't have my gun. But I do have a ground pound and can maintain speed to get up here. Taking a shortcut to get my wrench back. Remember when I said earlier, be afraid of the box? That's why. More on the flashy teleport thing in a bit. Now that I have my wrench, I have to go back up. This is the section of the game that's like one giant puzzle space where you're confined for a long time. The idea, of course, is that you go up and down and all around. Don't really know where to go. But if you're speedrunning, you know where to go. So this is, I believe, like a frame perfect or fairly difficult trick that I mentioned earlier about crouching, jumping with a crouching hitbox. If you hit all of the inputs in a very tight frame window for a dodge roll and a jump, you can fit through gaps like this one here, which you normally would not be able to do, so you can sequence break a little bit. Remember to watch out for soft locks, everybody. Next stop is to get my gun back, which is on the other side of this tower. It's very important throughout most of the tower to just maintain having your dodge roll, obviously quickly through all these crawling sections. Luckily there's not too much combat, so you're not really in danger of using any of your power-ups. But still. So now I have Mina's seeds and my gun. This is important for two reasons. So when I meet Mina, I'm going to give her half of those seeds. Then again, the game never actually gives you an inventory for these seeds, but it just tells you this through text. So you get these seeds, and Robin keeps half of them, half of the bag's worth. Also, here's a cutscene. You're not supposed to be able to walk next to these guys, but here I am. Howdy, gents. There's some high-ranking people with the one concern. Also, Mr. Teeth. Right, normally at this point in the tower, you'd be going over, or I would be going over to the right side. I'd be fighting the first phase of a boss, and doing some other stuff to get a key so I could then unlock this. However, I already have a key. And this lets me get my second wrench upgrade. Galvanized wrench. What this does is it then electrifies my bombs and missiles that I fire, so that I can even further solve puzzles. It also does some cool stuff with my attacks. trying for a frame-perfect trick there, where if you fire your gun and then hit the opposite direction, like a frame later, when crawling, you can like super speed crawl. Need to unlock that for later. This key in a bit. In order to actually finish the tower, you need 3 regular keys. In addition to all of your stuff back. Here's a mini-boss, well, the boss, but if you fire a bomb into his back, it damages him. So you try to bait him over to these stairs. Doesn't always work. Nice. It kept like the way everyone fights that boss when they first play this game, the way I fought that boss is you try to parry his attacks, and it takes forever with your wrench, so the fact that it only takes 3 bombs is extremely helpful. And you get 1 more key on this side of the tower, down on floor 1. So fun fact, that phase of that boss is actually the 2nd time in the tower that you're supposed to fight him, but because of all the sequence breaks, you actually enter the arena for the first fight from the opposite side, which is here on level 3. And so when you come back after fighting phase 2, you actually see the boss fizzle away, and you don't have to fight this phase, ever. I'm gonna go back down, not because I actually need to save the other characters, but because by saving them I get a key. And even though my HUD only says I have 3 keys, I actually have 4 keys, so I will be leaving this area with an extra key to help me out. In between floors 5 and 6, you fight the Silver Watchman again, unless you get a frame-perfect up press, which I didn't get, so I have to fight the boss. Hey, I can't get any of my fast crawls today. Alright, in that short span of time, Elro confronts Agent Black alone. Agent Black tears off Elro's right arm. Everyone else escapes the tower but is separated. Robin emerges in this dark cave and she's like, what do I do? So now to find a way out of Dark Cave. Now I have to perform a trick called Dark Cave Skip. Alright. I wish I had more time to explain that. The gist of it is I have to perform a kill jump off of that enemy, which is again jumping, inputting a jump the frame after you kill the enemy. And I have to do that while aiming down. And the problem with that is that the input of down and jump is also the input for your ground pound. So you have to carefully time it to where you don't ground pound. which allows you to even get the kill jump in the first place. Here I position it so the boss is closer to whatever side of the screen he wants to be. Fire one missile and kill him. Fun fact, that's actually a corrupted version of the boss I skipped way back at the beginning of the run. I guess something I can go over right now as I'm climbing this mountain for the next part of the story. Even though every cutscene is skipped in this game, there's still, like, as you may have seen in certain ones, I have dialogue options with certain characters. I didn't need that block. And those dialogue options actually play a part in the final boss of this game. And if you get all... depending on your affinity, like your answers with each, your answers to each character, it changes certain elements of the final boss fights, and even adds an unskippable, like, minute-long cutscene, depending on what your affinity with Mina is. So, in the one time where we can choose an answer for Mina, we choose the negative one, to ensure that we don't get that cutscene. Because if you answer negatively to anything of theirs in the game, then you don't get the cutscene. So you might be wondering, well, what happens to the rest of them if you skip all the cutscenes where you normally make those choices? Well, all of the choices otherwise are randomized. So for example, in this cutscene with Royal, right here, I skip it, and then luckily the default answers during the fast text section that I can't skip are on the negative answers. Also, since I've saved a key from way back when in Issy, I can actually use that key right now to skip an incredibly long puzzle. Try that again. What I'm doing. Oh wait, no. That's not what I'm supposed to do. There. Remember to get a good night's sleep, everybody. Ow. Well, this is not promising. Time for cool music and auto-scrollers, so, okay, this is the next boss. I'll fight it, like, actually fight it in a little bit. Its name is Omega. It's an Omega controller. Fun game design fact about these rooms. This isn't just like an overlaying, like art effect on one room. The game is actually moving all the characters and everything into separate rooms while this is happening. I just have to wait till the end of this auto-scroll and then I will finally kill this thing. I want to be fully charged here at the start of the fight, because I want to fire an electric missile at a certain time. If I fire it correctly, that missile will do a lot of damage to the boss. Like that. Alright, so after all of that, you meet Royal here at the entrance to One Concern West, which is the One Concern's base of operations for the western sector of the planet, or something. The whole reason you're here is because you both think that Elro might be here. And so Royal says, okay, I'll get you in, no problem, give me just a second. And so then there's a cutscene of Robin waiting for what I assume is a while. A couple hours at least. And Robin then decides to go look for alternate methods to access One Concern West. And so back to exploring the Darlin Descent we go. By explore, I mean go the way we need to. Here we find Mina in winter attire, as she's not used to cold weather. At this point, the game throws you for a loop because it tells you to find someone that might know something about accessing One Concern. You're just supposed to know what it is. The actual answer is that you're supposed to meet the doctor character. And then you're supposed to go find him. So if you want to play this game casually and you get stuck, or if you'd like to avoid the spoiler for this, look away now. Because the answer is that you go to the tower. And in. So you find the doctor. He tells you, I don't know how to get in, but I know somebody that probably does. Meet me at this location, and he marks a location for you on your map. So now you have to go to that location. Turns out the person that he's talking about is an undecidedly defective One Concern agent. And he tells you, I will teach you how to enter the One Concern if you can defeat me in combat. He tells you you will need stealth, as well as power to get in. And so he challenges you to this stealth battle. I don't really know what else to call it. I just want him to walk away from me so I can fire a missile at him. Is that so much to ask? There, hit him once. It only takes 2 missiles. You're supposed to like do something to distract him, and then fight him with the other character, because he has a shield that blocks most attacks. I don't know, it really doesn't make any sense. This way is normally faster if you don't get horrible luck like I did. And he tells you that the secret to breaking into One Concern West is actually the security camera, because that controls the lock. So it turns out the door to One Concern West is always unlocked, but it locks automatically when it detects a person nearby. So you need something to approach it that doesn't look like a person. And so instead, we're going to do something hilarious and use use Mina's winter coat. It's a tongue twister. And have Robin crawl along to hide. That way, the camera will not detect a person and the door will remain unlocked. Alright, finally back. And Robin and Mina successfully infiltrate One Concern West. Dang. In this room I have to carefully fire my bombs and missile in order to keep this box electrified and also get it to the bottom, so that I can lower this chain, which unlocks the door at the top of this room. Here you skip a cutscene where you actually learn that Robin's brother Elro killed one of the agents at some point. This room's cool because you get to like do this Tarzan swing chains. It's a lot harder than it looks. The timing on those lasers is not very forgiving. Now for the final gun of the game, at least that I'm gonna get. The Usurper Gun. So the Usurper Gun fires a laser that, when charged up, causes you to swap places with certain enemies and other objects, like so. It also has the shortest cooldown of any of the guns with a charged shot, so it is now the most effective weapon for platforming, in some cases. But Robin has searched the entire upper floors of the One Concern West, and Elro's not here, so you go to the basement. There you discover that one of the ships of Mina's people is in the possession of the One Concern, and they've been picking it apart. Instead of using the Usurper Gun to fire at these targets using the intended mechanics, I'm going to go around all that, except for this one because I have to. I don't know why the gun fired backwards there, but hey. Neat, I got the zip. Okay. If you can force a box into a place that has a door that goes back down, or like that crushes like that, you can cause the box to zip. You can also cause Robin to zip like that, if you can manage to ground pound on the box as the crusher is lowering. And this boss, you're supposed to use the teleport gun on to like move him onto these spikes and then lower them from behind. The shield is supposed to block everything. But if you just walk over here, there's a small section where you can squeeze a bomb in there, causing that instead, thus making that fight much faster. So this room is very important story detail, which I won't really spoil right now. Other than that, these are the ground up remains, essentially, of failed agents. The agents are made by putting people inside these machines over there. I forget what they're called. But, the machines bathe you in ivory that lasts, and it's a bath that lasts for months. If you live, you will be given special powers like Royal, and basically be considered a god. But there is a chance where not all of you will live, and you will lose like your arms or your legs. More on that in a bit. So the other agents, like Black, White, Gray, they've all lost some other part of their body. Royal had a perfect ivory bath and is basically God. That's what he's been, like, raised to believe, which is why he's always blundering and thinking he's correct. There's honestly more story than I can explain. Charge up our bomb here. Now we're gonna fight Agent Black, and the big reveal is that Agent Black doesn't have arms. She has robotic arms. So because the ivory is used to power the machines, anyone with ivory blood can effectively become an android, or whatever. It's like Ghost in the Shell. So this attack that Agent Black does always leaves Robin at a set amount of health. And you just have to repeat this 3 times before this battle ends. So you can actually die, but not from the attack where she grabs you. Yo, hello Blood Thunder viewers. Cabbages. Yo, cabbages are dope. You know what else is dope? Video games. We're playing one right now. So you don't kill Agent Black. But you do wound her considerably. So you don't find Elro at One Concern West. So Roa says, what about One Concern East? Let's try over there. It's conveniently 1 train ride away. So we don't have to go very far. We find Elro, he's missing his arm. He's basically dead. He's lost a lot of blood. Ow. Didn't want to get hit by that guy. Or that grenade. Those bullets. Now the only thing left to do, or that anyone can think to do anyway, is take Elro to Mother. Mother is the leader of the One Concern. She is basically the ruler of the planet. She has the powers of a god. Royal mistakenly believes that he can convince Mother to give Elro his arm back and pardon him of his supposed sins. This is Pete, the guard, and he's supposed to be getting swapped by my gun. Commercial for Amazon? It could be a commercial for Amazon. I don't know. This is City 1, the holy city of the One Concern. again. You don't have to swap that guy, but I'm gonna just to make life a little bit easier. Alright, so I'm gonna meet Mother now. She's going to summon a giant cat made of rocks. And then we're gonna fight. See, I wasn't lying. It's a giant cat made of rocks and stuff. Look, it even has a billboard on it that says things. Thing 1. Where's that thing 3? Anyway, this creature's attacks are completely random. Like, I don't know what order they're gonna happen in. There doesn't seem to be any sort of set pattern. I have to wait for it to do that attack where it tries to shoot a laser at me, at which point I can then shoot a laser at it, which weakens the creature and lets me swap places with Mother. Thereby, Mina is then able to punch Mother in the face and put a seed in her mouth. And the game continues. Also, if you jump and wrench at the same time, you just get back on these things forever. Just gonna let this attack hit me and go by. Alright, now that you've essentially killed God, you've thrown the city into quite the disarray, as there's now the two warring religious factions. Those that were loyal to the now deceased Mother, and those that were loyal to the army, are now going to war within City 1 and everywhere on the planet. So that's exciting. Swap to the wrong one. Just want that guy out of the way because that makes this like 10 times easier. Or what if I still had dodge roll? Not dead. That room's rather graphic. There's a man who stabbed himself with a pencil. At this point, the one concern is in entire disarray. As I said, their leader is dead. She's now a giant tree, right there, turned into a tree. And they've just found out that their god, the Star Worm, is returning to the planet and will probably be displeased with them because there's no more ivory. So Robin decides to take her friends and leave. We're gonna go home and wait this out. I unfortunately lost dodge roll, so now I just have to damage boost everywhere. Alright, on the way back to your house, you meet one of Elro's friends, who's like, hey, we got a rocket ship. What if you guys went to the moon? To talk to, you know, the Star Worm, the giant mythical creature that will destroy the planet. Try talking to it. Foolishly, the party says, yeah, we'll try that. Who set up all those mines? That's a good question, you know? Now I have another auto-scroller, but at least I finally get to shoot something. Unlike Robin, Mina cannot grab onto ledges, nor can she crouch walk. Or crawl, I guess, is the more apt term. Anyway. But she does have a very powerful shotgun. Triple kill. So at this point, Mina and Elro have to get to their own sections of this rocket launch base. Push two buttons in different rooms at the same time in order to launch the rocket. Meanwhile, Robin and Royal will fight their way to the rocket, sorry, so that they can get to the moon. This is Mendeleev. She's a very pretty pink-haired lady. She's also on fire. So the mechanic for this fight is I have to wait for her to lose her fiery aura, and then I shoot her into the lightning. And she's supposed to take a bunch of damage. Unfortunately, like when she chooses to get rid of her aura is not really up to me, and sometimes the lightning will not be available. You can just get a horrible, horrible fight. I think there's a puzzle in that last room. I don't know, I've never done it. So this really long room requires me to turn off all of these electric fields, make it to the very end, do this, all so that I can just reverse one thing to open the door. I get all the way over here, fire a bomb, activates that, sends me back the other way. So now we fight a boss that would normally be very annoying because it's invisible, or you can swap places with that NPC, which for some reason skips the boss because this room is divided into 4 different quadrants. And if it detects you in a quadrant that you're not supposed to be in at a certain point, it reloads the room. In this case, to a state where the boss is not there, thus skipping that boss. However, I now have to make a safety save right here, otherwise the next boss that I fight at the end of this section will not actually be at his location. Now I have to play as Elro. He walks very slow, he only has one arm, and a broken sword. I don't know if that's a euphemism. But he's lost everything. He's lost his wife and child, he's lost his father, he's lost his house, his arm. The only thing he has left is his sister Robin. He just wants to go home. So he's trying to help. Alright, this guy, this soldier is incredibly important. I'm hoping he will do the right thing. That is close enough. So when you take damage as Elro, it sends you, or it causes you to walk much faster than normal, as you can see here. So you turn around, take damage, and walk all the way into the boss room. Luckily, you get fully healed upon entering this boss. So the same thing applies during this boss fight, but I want to reflect about 5 or 6 hits before I start damage boosting. However, the machine gun attack is the longest one, so I might skip those if they come up off. If I get any of the knife throws though, I will reflect them, because I should be able to get over in time to stab him. So this boss's name is Lawrence. I want to get him down to about half health before I start damage boosting more. That's not good. I could have done that before. Alright, one more just for safety, and I'll start damage boosting all of his attacks. He needs 3 more. I'll block this for absolute safety. As I say that, I get hit. Okay, now he's down to 2 more. I should be okay. Alright, after you do that, Elro arrives at the rocket launch station and disagrees with Mina about sending Robin and Royal to the moon. But Robin and Royal don't know that, because at that same time this is going on. Right, in this section I just have to activate 3 different fields with electricity. Luckily I can do that from afar with a missile, and get to the boss fight sooner. We have to fight Agent Black again, who's very enraged at you for taking away essentially Robin's family is at fault for everything that's happened to Black. Black was involved with an agent that Elro killed. Agent Black can't find Elro to take out her aggressions, so she's taking them out on Robin. So each time that Agent Black gets weakened, Robin's putting a seed in her mouth, which as you can see is causing her to transform. Agent Black is so strong-willed, however, she's able to resist death. And now this is a kaiju game. This boss's attacks are also, I can't do anything to influence them. The head is only vulnerable during one attack. And this boss has 3 weak points. Oh good, the head's dead first. That's actually really good. Alright, in the end, Elro does end up pushing the button, and you launch the rocket after these two get situated. You arrive on the moon. You're on the moon because supposedly there's a temple dedicated to the Star Worm here. That's where you are now. It turns out that the one concerned was actually planning for all of this to happen from the very beginning, or at least for the world to end, and Mother was going to take herself as well as the higher-ups of the one concerned and bring them here and start basically a new life in a new planet. All of that's obviously not going to happen now, as Mother is a tree, but whatever. So in the cutscene that transpires, Royal attempts to communicate with the Star Worm as he believes he is the only one that can, as he's the only one with the same magical powers as Mother, as granted to him by the Ivory. Royal inadvertently pisses off the Star Worm, who breaks the glass on the space station, which is why all the air is going away now. And the Star Worm heads toward the planet. Royal is distraught because throughout the entire game everybody's told him they hate him. As Royal is saying now, he just wants to die, he's useless. Robin is just trying to do the right thing and get him to safety. Oh, and these switches on these doors only work when they sense someone from the one concerned approaching. So if Robin approaches them, nothing will happen. You need Royal in order to open these doors. Oh no, this one's super broken and far away. Well, bye, Royal. Guess you have to blow up with the moon. As Robin takes the only active escape pod back to the planet. So at this point in the game, the impact crater is officially open for business. Though you can get into it via other means. Now we approach the final boss of the game. So in this section, you're supposed to free the corruption off of all these enemies except for the controllers. The corruption is the blue stuff. And you can only do that by hitting them with the usurper gun. Alright, right here, if I dodge roll in the right place, the game forces you into a standing state when you enter the cutscene for that to start, and so it zips you up through the ceiling, and you skip fighting in this arena. Now we enter the final boss. So this is the phase where I mentioned way back at the beginning of the run about the affinity with each character. This character represents your brother Elro. So based on your answers to Elro, this enemy will either attack a lot, or maybe not at all. You can tell if you have positive affinity by sunflowers. Like roaming around each boss. Anyway. Changes what type of shield the final boss will use during a certain phase. So we're gonna hug Dad, so the boss uses an easier to destroy shield. Alright, so it turns out that the Star Worm was actually a spaceship. This guy was piloting it. It was like an intergalactic tax collector or something. This is the attack that the dad bugging uses. If you time this properly, you can destroy that shield instantly as it appears, but it's difficult for me personally to predict when that's going to happen. Alright, time is coming up. The only input left is for me to punch the worm using the last of Nina's seeds, which will then save the planet. Also, yeah, this guy has to die. Bam! Get ready, and time. So the star worm dies. It restores regular trees with round leaves to the planet. And the people can live happily and be in nature or something. I don't know. I live in Los Angeles. Nature doesn't exist here. One last thing to do. Like any good Super Metroid run. Dear Force. Alright, well, that's it for me. Thanks for putting this on, Shaddix. Thanks for having